Something was wrong in Elon Musk's office. His executive assistant stood at the door, a stack of documents in her hands, waiting for his signature. She knocked once, twice. No answer. Carefully, she pushed the door open. The scene inside looked ordinary at first glance. His coffee mug still warm, his laptop open but locked, as if he had only stepped out for a moment. But Elon was gone. By noon, unease had turned into panic across his companies. From Tesla to SpaceX, from Neuralink to Solar City, entire departments felt the weight of his absence. Phone calls went unanswered, emails piled up without a reply, and meetings collapsed into confusion. Investors who had flown in from Tokyo to discuss the launch of a new solar panel project were quietly redirected to meet with the CFO instead. Rumors began to spread like wildfire. Some whispered that Elon had been called into a secret government summit. Others insisted there was a personal or health crisis. The more imaginative claimed he was testing an undisclosed spacecraft or working on a breakthrough so revolutionary it required complete silence. Technology blogs fueled the storm with headlines like, "Where is Musk?" Analysts debated the impact on stock prices. Social media churned with theories, hashtags, and speculative videos watched by millions. Yet through all of this chaos, his security team remained completely silent. They knew the truth, but had been ordered to keep it hidden. Only a handful of people in the world knew where Elon Musk actually was, and none of them would say a word. The reality was far from the theories swirling across the internet. Elon hadn't vanished into a secret lab or a hidden government bunker. He wasn't gravely ill, nor was he brokering billion-dollar deals behind closed doors. The world's most watched CEO, at the very height of his success, had quietly disappeared for 2 full months. And where he went would surprise everyone. While investors panicked and journalists scrambled for clues, Elon Musk was already 30,000 feet in the air, aboard his private jet. His calendar, normally filled with back-to-back product reviews, strategy sessions, and board meetings, had been wiped clean by his most trusted aide. His team, his executives, his family, none of them knew the details of where he was going. His destination was not Silicon Valley, not Washington, not Shanghai. It was Guatemala, specifically a small village called San Miguel, nestled in the highlands among coffee fields and mountains. Waiting for him there was Maria Santos, the woman who had worked as his housekeeper for 15 years before retiring to care for her elderly mother. Maria had been more than just an employee. She had been a steady presence in Elon's household, a surrogate grandmother to his children, and a source of quiet wisdom during his most turbulent professional years. When she retired 2 years earlier, Elon had given her a generous retirement gift, thanking her deeply. They had kept in touch since, holiday cards, family photos, occasional emails. Through these exchanges, Elon had learned about San Miguel, a village of about 800 people. It struggled with basic necessities, scarce clean water, unreliable electricity, a school that ended at age 10, and a medical clinic 2 hours away, over roads that often washed out in the rain. Girls dropped out of school early. Families carried water long distances. Emergencies sometimes ended in tragedy because help couldn't arrive in time. Elon could have sent a donation, hired contractors, or written a massive check. But he felt that wasn't enough. Maria had given years of her life to care for his family. Her village, he decided, deserved more than money. They deserved his time, his attention, his willingness to listen. And so, without press releases or announcements, Elon Musk disappeared from the world's spotlight. He slipped away into the Guatemalan highlands, toward a village most maps barely mark. For the next 2 months, the world's richest innovator would trade rockets and boardrooms for dirt roads and cooking fires. Not to build an empire, but to rediscover what truly mattered. When Elon Musk's car wound its way through the mountain roads and finally entered San Miguel, the sun was just beginning to set behind the peaks. The air was cool, filled with the smell of wood smoke and fresh coffee beans drying in the open air. At the edge of the village stood Maria Santos, waiting for him. She looked older than when Elon had last seen her. Her black hair, now streaked with silver, pulled back into a simple braid, her face lined with years of hard work. Yet her smile was as warm as ever. "Señor Elon," she said, using the familiar nickname she had called him in her years of service. Welcome to my home. Elon stepped out of the car and embraced her, not as a billionaire greeting a former employee, but as a friend reunited after years. It's good to see you, Maria, he said softly. And please, just Elon. Maria led him through the narrow dirt streets toward her house. The village unfolded around them, modest homes built of adobe or concrete blocks, chickens scratching in the dust, children chasing one another in the fading light. A small church and community building anchored the central square. Elderly men sat on porches, watching curiously as the tall foreigner walked by, nodding respectfully to Maria, but showing no sign of recognizing the world's most famous entrepreneur. Here Elon was not a global icon, he was simply a guest in Maria's village. Her home sat near the edge of San Miguel, a neat concrete structure with a corrugated metal roof and a view of the surrounding mountains. Inside, the rooms were humble but spotless, decorated with colorful hand-woven textiles. In the kitchen, an elderly woman rose slowly from a rocking chair, Maria's mother, Lucia. Her face was deeply lined, her hands bent by arthritis, but her eyes were sharp and welcoming. "Señor Elon," Maria said in Spanish, introducing him. "This is my mother, the one I told you about." Lucia smiled and extended her hand. "Bienvenido a nuestra casa," she said warmly. Elon clasped her hand and replied in his careful Spanish. "Gracias, Señora Santos. It is an honor." That evening, Maria served a simple but delicious dinner: beans, rice, fresh vegetables, and warm tortillas. The light bulb above them flickered as the electricity surged on and off, a reminder of one of the village's many challenges. Between bites, Maria explained that she had told the village council about Elon's desire to help, but had deliberately avoided mentioning his true identity or immense wealth. "They know you are successful in business," she said gently, "but here respect is not given for money. Respect is given for how you treat others." Elon nodded, grateful for her foresight. For once in his life, people would meet him not as a celebrity or billionaire, but simply as a man willing to help. The next morning, Maria walked with him to the community center, where 7 members of the village council waited around a scarred wooden table. They ranged in age from 30 to 75, farmers and artisans with calloused hands and serious faces. The council president, Antonio Ramirez, a coffee farmer with weathered skin and steady eyes, spoke first. "Señor Musk," he said through Maria's translation, "we have had visitors before, outsiders with good intentions, who leave us with problems we did not have before. Before we discuss projects, we must know why you are here." Elon leaned forward. "Maria was part of my family for many years," he said carefully. "She cared for my children with love and wisdom. When I learned about the struggles here, I could have sent money. But money is not enough. I came to understand, to listen, and to work with you, not to impose my ideas, not to take credit, but to learn what will truly help your community." As Maria translated, the council members exchanged cautious glances. Antonio studied Elon for a long moment before nodding. "Good words," he said slowly. "But words are only words. Actions will show us who you truly are. We ask that you live among us, see our lives, and then decide together what to do. Is this acceptable?" Elon agreed immediately. This was exactly why he had come to learn before acting. And so his immersion into San Miguel began. In the days that followed, Elon walked the coffee fields with farmers, his hands blackened from the beans they harvested. He watched women weave brilliant textiles on backstrap looms, their fingers moving with ancient skill. He sat in the one-room school where 40 children of different ages studied under a single overworked teacher. He saw ingenuity everywhere, broken tools repaired 3 times over, toys crafted from scraps that would have been trash in California, neighbors pooling labor and resources so no family went without. Each night he returned to Maria's home, where Lucia shared stories of the village's history by lantern light. Elon, though he understood little Spanish, found peace in her voice, in the rhythm of life here. It was a world far removed from the boardrooms and launch pads that usually defined him. By the end of his first week, one truth was clear: the people of San Miguel faced enormous challenges, but they also possessed a resilience and unity that money alone could never buy. By the second week, Elon Musk no longer felt like a visitor. Children who had once hidden shyly behind their mothers now ran up to greet him. Neighbors called out "Buenos dias" when he passed, sometimes stopping him with questions about America or ideas about what their village needed most. The tall foreigner who had arrived in silence was becoming part of the daily rhythm of San Miguel, and with each passing day, Elon's understanding deepened. He had come not with blueprints or pre-designed solutions, but with curiosity. What he discovered both humbled and inspired him. The water system, he quickly realized, was one of the most urgent issues. The village relied on a spring in the mountains, connected by a fragile patchwork of pipes. The system often broke or leaked, leaving families without clean water for days. During dry months, women and young girls walked miles to carry buckets from distant sources. Education suffered, health suffered, and time that could have been spent on work or learning disappeared into the endless task of hauling water. Electricity posed another daily struggle. The village was connected to the regional grid, but service was unreliable, sometimes going out for hours, even days. Refrigerators failed, food spoiled, students struggled to study by candlelight. A few families had small solar panels, but when they broke, repairs were expensive and often impossible. Healthcare was equally precarious. The nearest clinic lay 20 kilometers away, across roads that turned to rivers of mud during the rainy season. Emergencies were terrifying. A woman in labor, a child with a fever, any delay could turn dangerous. Preventive care was almost non-existent, leaving small problems to grow into crises. And then there was education. San Miguel's primary school served children only until the age of 10. After that, continuing meant walking nearly 5 miles each way to the next town. For boys, the journey was hard but sometimes possible. For girls, it was often impossible. Household responsibilities and safety concerns meant many stopped their education altogether. Inside the school, resources were scarce, one teacher for dozens of children across multiple grades, few books and barely enough supplies. Yet amid these challenges, Elon also saw extraordinary strengths. The people of San Miguel were resourceful in ways few in wealthy countries could imagine. Nothing was wasted. Plastic bottles became toys, broken tools were reforged, cloth was patched again and again, families shared food, labor and childcare, ensuring no one was left behind. Their sense of community was not a concept, it was a lifeline. Evenings often found Elon sitting with Lucia, Maria's elderly mother, on the small porch overlooking the mountains. She would tell stories of the village's past, of harvest festivals, of times when everything was grown or made by hand. She spoke of the challenge her grandchildren now faced, pulled between tradition and the modern world flashing across the screens of their cell phones. Balance, she told him through Maria's translation, is the hardest part. To keep our ways, but also to give our young people hope. Elon listened more than he spoke. For a man known for grand visions, colonizing Mars, electrifying the world, this was a new kind of challenge, not inventing something unprecedented, but respecting something fragile and enduring. By the end of his second week, he felt ready to sit again with the village council. This time, he came not with vague intentions, but with concrete understanding. Around the same worn wooden table, with Maria translating, he laid out what he had seen. "The water system is your most urgent problem," he began. "It can be repaired and strengthened, using local materials, with training so that people here can maintain it themselves. Clean, reliable water will change everything. Health, education, even daily work." He continued with electricity. A microgrid combining solar panels with batteries, to power the school, the community center, and a small medical station. Healthcare, a clinic staffed part-time, connected by telemedicine to doctors in the city, supported by local villagers trained in basic care. Education, expanding the school, training additional teachers, and creating a small computer center for access to knowledge, even with limited internet. What made these proposals different from typical aid projects was not the technology, it was the process. Elon emphasized that these plans were to be shaped by the community, built by their hands, and sustained by their knowledge. Antonio Ramirez, the council president, listened carefully. "These are good ideas," he said finally. "But they will only succeed if they are ours, not yours." Elon smiled. Exactly, he replied. That moment marked a turning point. For the first time, the council saw not just a foreigner offering charity, but a partner willing to dig, sweat, and learn alongside them. And for Elon, it marked the beginning of something he had never expected, that in helping San Miguel, he might also be reshaping himself. The next phase was no longer about listening. It was about action. Elon Musk rolled up his sleeves and stepped into the daily work of San Miguel. For a man accustomed to boardrooms, launch pads, and laboratories, digging trenches in rocky soil came as a shock. His palms blistered, his back ached, but he kept at it. Villagers were surprised to see the world's most famous entrepreneur bent over a shovel beside them, covered in sweat and dust, but they quickly began treating him as just another worker. The water project came first. Together they replaced broken pipes, reinforced the spring source, and built storage tanks to secure supply during dry months. Training sessions were held under the shade of trees, where local men and women learned how to repair leaks and keep the system running. For the first time, clean water flowed reliably into the village square. Children ran to fill their cups and laughed at the novelty of drinking without fear. The electricity project followed, with materials brought in from the city but installed by local hands. Solar panels rose on the roofs of the school, the community center, and a newly planned medical station. A battery bank provided power long after sunset. The flickering bulbs of the past were replaced with steady light. Families gathered at night under lamps to share meals. Children spread their books on tables, and for the first time, studying after dark was possible. Healthcare, too, took its first steps. A small building was converted into a clinic, stocked with basic supplies. A nurse from a regional hospital agreed to visit twice a week, and telemedicine equipment allowed villagers to consult doctors remotely. Meanwhile, Maria and a handful of others received first aid training so emergencies could be stabilized before help arrived. It was not perfect, but it was a beginning. The school expanded as well. Local carpenters built new desks. A second classroom opened its doors. The computer center, modest but functional, allowed children to explore learning materials far beyond the village. Elon often sat with them, explaining simple science experiments, encouraging questions, laughing at their boundless curiosity. What struck the villagers most was not just the progress, but Elon's approach. He listened before deciding. He asked for advice. He adjusted plans when the elders explained why certain traditions mattered. He treated everyone, farmers, mothers, children, with respect. This was no charity, it was partnership. One evening, as the sun melted into orange and purple over the mountains, Maria sat with Elon on her porch. "When you said you wanted to help, I was afraid," she admitted. "Many outsiders come, build something fast, take pictures and leave. We are left with things we cannot repair. But you are different. You are learning from us." Elon nodded. Technology fails if it ignores people. The most advanced system in the world is useless if it doesn't fit the life of those who use it. Maria smiled. "The children will remember not just what you built, but how you treated us." By the 7th week, San Miguel had changed. Water flowed from new taps. Lights glowed steadily at night. A school echoed with voices of children dreaming of futures beyond the horizon. But perhaps the most profound change was invisible. A growing belief among the villagers that they were capable of shaping their own destiny. For Elon, too, something had shifted. The man who once measured success in rockets and stock prices now found meaning in the laughter of children drinking clean water, in the pride of villagers fixing their own systems, in the simple dignity of respect. The final days of Elon Musk's stay in San Miguel arrived more quickly than anyone expected. The projects were nearly complete. Clean water flowed through repaired pipes, solar panels gleamed in the sun. The small clinic stood ready for its first patients, and children filled new desks inside the expanded school. What had once been ideas around a wooden table were now tangible realities, built not by outsiders but by the hands of the villagers themselves. On his last evening, the community gathered in the central square. Tables covered in bright woven cloths overflowed with food: beans, rice, roasted corn, tamales wrapped in banana leaves. Lanterns powered by the new solar system cast warm light across the gathering, and local musicians played guitars while children danced barefoot in the dust. It was not just a farewell dinner, it was a celebration of what the village had accomplished together. Antonio Ramirez, the council president, stood and raised his voice. "When you came, Senor Musk, we were cautious. Outsiders have promised much before, and left us with broken things. But you did not come to command us. You came to listen, to work beside us, to respect our knowledge. What stands around us now, the water, the light, the school, are not gifts from you alone, they are things we built together." As Maria translated, Elon felt a tightening in his chest. He was used to praise in his career, awards, headlines, applause. But this was different. This was recognition not of his wealth or inventions, but of his humanity. When it was his turn to speak, he kept it short. "I thought I was coming here to give," he said simply. "But I have received more than I could ever repay. You have shown me resilience, creativity, and joy in simple things. These lessons will stay with me long after I leave." The celebration stretched late into the night. Music, laughter, and conversation filled the square. For once, Elon did not think of rockets or stock prices. He thought only of the people he had shared this journey with, and the new perspective they had given him. The next morning, Maria walked with him to the edge of the village. The car that would carry him back down the mountain waited silently. She looked at him with tears in her eyes. "You have changed San Miguel," she said, "not only with water and light, but with respect. That is a greater gift than money." Elon embraced her. "San Miguel has changed me too, Maria. More than I ever expected." Back in the United States, Elon slipped quietly into his old life. His staff and investors were relieved. The media exploded with theories, and headlines speculated endlessly about his mysterious absence. Elon offered only a brief explanation. He had been helping a small community. He did not share the details, nor the depth of the transformation he had experienced. That part was his alone. But the impact soon became clear. He directed his foundation toward community-led projects, emphasizing sustainability over speed, participation over publicity. He implemented more family-friendly policies in his companies. Most significantly, he created a program dedicated to rural development, built on a principle he carried back from San Miguel: solutions grow best from the soil where problems are rooted. Months later, he still spoke with Antonio and the village council by video call. The technology cooperative formed by local youth was thriving, spreading knowledge and skills to neighboring villages. Young people who had once considered leaving, now dreamed of staying. For Elon Musk, 2 quiet months in a Guatemalan village had reshaped what success meant. Not headlines, not awards, but clean water in a child's hands, the glow of a classroom at night, the dignity of people building their own future. Sometimes, the most revolutionary act is not creating new technology or conquering space, but showing up with open hands and an open heart, ready to be changed as much as to change the world.